Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the 2:30 broadcast of Miss Glen and Friends Read On. Kennedy, I see that you've joined us already, and welcome to the others who are going to come in. We have a very special friend today. Many of you will recognize her. We have Miss Taylor, and so I'm going to let her introduce herself to those who may not be a part of the Marshall community, and then she's going to jump right into her book.
Hello, Miss Glen and friends. I was waiting for this all day. As you can see, I'm at Marshall, but welcome to Miss Glen and friends. I'm so excited to get started. And I know she said Kennedy was already on. So, hey, Kennedy, and everybody else who may join us. But once again, I am Daisha Taylor, principal of Marshall Elementary. This is my 6th year at Marshall. And today I get to do what I love to do, which is interacting with children and spending time with you all. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my read aloud. I absolutely love this read aloud. Some of you may have heard it, but it is called After the Fall by Dan Santat. It is How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you remember the story of Humpty Dumpty? You can kind of remember from the front cover here, you can see he's a little egg. You can kind of see he's sitting up high, but do you remember the story of Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty, then all of the couldn't. So, anywho, we're going to get started and we're going to find out what happens to Humpty after the fall. So, and as I'm reading, I want you to put yourself in Humpty's shoes because we know that Humpty Dumpty had a fall, but I want you to think about a time maybe that you fell. And I don't necessarily mean like by falling physically, maybe that you did something you weren't supposed to do, or you actually did have a fall. There was one time Miss Taylor had an actual fall. I was at a conference, I was walking, I don't know what happened. I actually fell down. It was so embarrassing. But anyway, let's keep going. So, After the Fall by Dan Santat. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot high on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm kind of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue, and you can see Humpty there laying down. Now, boys and girls, what do you mean? What do you think that the author means when he says that there are parts of Humpty that could not be healed with bandages and glue? What do you think the author means right there? Okay, let's keep going. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. Now, boys and girls, have you ever been paralyzed by fear? Being so afraid of something that it kind of stops you in your tracks and keeps you from doing something? It happens. Kaylee, I see you fell out of a golf cart. Oh gosh, I hope you're okay now, but that seemed like it could have been scary. Oh goodness, let's keep going. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day, I kept trying and trying. until I got it just right. And sorry, I'm trying to get this book in the view here so you can see it. My plane was perfect and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. And you can see his little plane there flying in the sky. Unfortunately, accidents happen. Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. They always do. And if you can see, his little plane is about to go over the wall. I almost walked away again. But then I thought about all the time I had spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing one step at a time until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. And you can see here that Humpty Dumpty turned into a bird. So, boys and girls, I was going to ask you, what do you think the theme is of this story? Remember, a theme is a lifelong lesson that you can take from a text and apply to any situation in life. So I want you to think about what happened with Humpty Dumpty. It's kind of easy to figure out. I know some of you might be typing right now, but what do you think the theme is? What do you think the message that the author is trying to give you about Humpty Dumpty? Because if you remember this when you were little, I thought that was the end of it. I thought Humpty Dumpty was broken and it was all over for him. But we can see that that wasn't the end of the story, that Humpty Dumpty got back up after his fall. So I already kind of gave you a hint there, but I want you to think about the theme. And I want you to realize that sometimes accidents do happen. Once again, I told you about the time that Miss Taylor fell. It was embarrassing. There were people around me that saw me, and I don't know if it was more embarrassing to fall and get hurt or the fact that everybody saw it. But the thing is, I got up. And I will honestly say there were people with me who helped me to get up. And they said, it's going to be okay. So I want you to know that there are people that's going to encourage you. Things are going to happen, whether it's your parents, a big brother, a big sister, auntie. Sometimes accidents are going to happen and you're going to fall. You might fall flat on your face, but there are people there that's going to help you get back up. And if there's no one else around, you muster it up and do it. Ah, very good. I see it. Get back up no matter what. Excellent job, Murphy crew. Get back up. We're going to all fall down. Miss Taylor has fallen, but we get back up and we don't let that stop us. For example, I used to love watching my mom cook when I was a little girl. And I said that I was going to get in the kitchen and help her one day. So usually I would cut up the cheese and do little small things. But one day I decided I was going to be around the stove. So you can already see what happened to Miss Taylor. I got burned. But of course, Miss Taylor didn't stop cooking. She didn't say, oh, now for a little while I was worried. And I was like, I'm not going near the stove anymore. I'm afraid. But if I would have let that one incident stop me, then I wouldn't be able to cook for my family and all of that today. So when I got burned, I didn't stop. I continued to do what I needed to do. Now, I was a lot more cautious the next time, but I got back up. And so, boys and girls, I'm going to tell you that in life, things are going to happen. You're going to fall down. You might not get the grade that you wanted to get. You might have done something that you really hate that you did. You might have said something to someone that knocked you down because you knew that wasn't in your character. But the biggest thing that the author is telling you in this story, just like Kaylee posted, is to get back up no matter what. And get back up means to make it right. Find that inner strength in you to do what you need to do to get back up, because you are powerful beyond measure and nothing's going to stop you. So, Miss Glen and friends, I really enjoyed being with you today. Oh, this brightened my day. Guys, I am at the school. There's no one here but Miss Funderburg and the custodian. So I am so excited. I was really looking forward to this since 8 o'clock this morning. So thank you, Miss Glen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for reading. And I love the book that you chose. And I love the encouragement that you gave the students in the end. So Kaylee, Kennedy, those others, I see we had a few others to join us. I do encourage you to share this video with your classmates and share it with others who may just need that push to get back up no matter what. And those of you who weren't logged into YouTube and you couldn't comment here, send me a message on Class Dojo or Seesaw and let me know just about a time that you may have been paralyzed by fear, and then tell me how you got back up again. But thank you all so much for joining in for this 2:30 read. We will be back at 7 o'clock with Miss Jameson tonight, who's going to do a story for us. So you all enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again, Miss Taylor.
Thank you. Bye, bees.